This book permanently changed my perspective, and the same author, Dr. Kate Mann, is back at it to permanently change my perspective again. You should read it. Here's why. First, and just as an admission of learning, there is much more psychological bias against fatness than I, as a person who does not get discriminated against because of my body, ever got to see. There's not just dating discrimination, but there's hiring discrimination. And as she documents, there's discrimination from medical professionals themselves. I scribbled this doodle in the back, and we'll cover it eventually, but the parallels to Dorothy Roberts' understanding of how race as a social construct makes race real in society are quite clear. Fat phobia is part of the reason that fat phobia exists. We think that it's unhealthy, and so we discriminate against people, and then they have worse lives, and we take that as proof that it was unhealthy, but in fact, it was us, it was the world, it was our world that made it bad. And I can already hear your thumbs typing on your screens, but the obesity epidemic, but fatness and healthiness and what the doctor said and blah, 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 blah. The opening chapters of this book talk about medical fat phobia, but the long and short answer is that human bodies are much more complicated than having health being able to be reduced to a single metric of weight or BMI or whatever is in vogue at the time. Behind the scenes moment, I actually, I do this a lot. I lowered myself down so that my gut doesn't look as big, and the reason that I do that is because it's everything that's in this freaking book. We have psychological biases against it, and as she documents, we don't just have psychological biases, we perceive people as less morally trustworthy because we use fatness as a proxy variable for willpower and moral goodness. And so we see people whose bodies don't conform to our social expectations that are recently made up by pop culture, and we say that person is morally bad and morally untrustworthy. So I use my standing desk to appear more morally trustworthy to hide the fact that I'm in my 30s now and my body is changing. Also, don't get it twisted. I'm not trying to conflate me having like body image issues like lots of people do with this experience. I've never not been hired for a job because of my body, for instance. I've never had to starve myself to feel like I have value as a human person. And because I do not have that experience, it is of critical importance that I and people like me listen to the testimony of people who do. And on the issue of willpower and moral trustworthiness, Kate Mann is a philosopher. She is in one of the only fields where she has qualifications to discuss moral trustworthiness and willpower and choice. These are the things that we study. There's so much evidence that some people can diet and exercise and their weight won't change. You can't talk about morality. This is her insight. It's not me. You can't talk about moral issues for things that people do not have moral control over. I'll say that again for repetition's sake. You cannot make a moral requirement of someone when they do not have the power to do the thing that you are requiring. A conservative version of an argument like that is pull yourself up by your own bootstraps. You're morally bad if you can't make money in this world, even though you don't have power to make money in this world because minimum wage isn't kept up with inflation and oppression exists and yada, 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 yada. There are liberal versions of this, though, that I've discussed in other videos. We often make moral expectations of people to have realizations that they don't have the epistemic capacity to have. I'll say that differently. Learning takes time and effort, and we sometimes expect people to already be at the end before we've even started, and we will write off certain people as having no moral value if they don't conform to our epistemic standards, our moral standards. This is a fancy way of saying we cancel people, and we don't give anyone an opportunity to learn when we can't make a moral requirement of them to know something that they can't know yet, if that makes sense. Anyway, I was just going to make this like a short video that's like, hey, read this book, it's really good, and then I got distracted talking about a bunch of other things. Hey, read this book, it's really good. I'm going to leave a copy of a link to in the place where I can buy a copy on Amazon and affiliate links because I'm a business person. Actually, I do really enjoy reading and making videos, and so I want to make it sustainable and do stuff like that. Cool. Mind maps and full videos and top-down shots of page inserts coming soon. I think it's really good. I have 2 chapters left. You can read those 2 chapters with me. And if you read it, leave a good review on Amazon. Okay, Patreon info. Bye.